The S-400 is operational inside Iran. That is the confirmed reality as of today. Russia delivered at least one full division of its most advanced long-range surface-to-air missile system to the Islamic Republic, deployed it near Isfahan, and Iran tested it in a live-fire exercise last July. Now, 16 days into the largest U.S.-Israeli military campaign against Iran since the Islamic Revolution, that weapon system is active in a war zone where 13 American service members are already dead, and oil has broken past $100 a barrel. If you drive a car, heat a home, or care about the 6,000 American troops stationed within range of Iranian missiles right now, the next 5 minutes will tell you exactly what this means. Russia gave Iran the S-400 Triumph, NATO designation S-A-21 Growler. This system can detect and engage targets at distances up to 400 kilometers and at altitudes of 30 kilometers. It can track 80 targets and engage 36 simultaneously, including high-speed aircraft, cruise missiles, drones, and ballistic missiles. That is not a defensive upgrade. That is a paradigm shift. According to the Russian Arms Telegram channel, at least one division of the S-400 Triumph air defense system, equipped with 48 N-6DM missiles, has been delivered to the Iranian Air Defense Forces and deployed near Isfahan. Near Isfahan, roughly 440 kilometers south of Tehran, Iran conducted its first live test of the S-400 on July 26, 2025. The test was not subtle. According to Army recognition, the test involved a full S-400 battery, including the 91N6E Big Bird Acquisition Radar, the 92N6E Gravestone Engagement Radar, command and control units, and multiple 5P-85TE2 missile launchers. And that was 8 months ago, before the bombs started falling. Now, layer in the rest of the arsenal Moscow has been funneling into Tehran over the past 2 years. In January 2026, evidence surfaced that Iran was in possession of up to 6 Russian Mi-28 attack helicopters, which Iranian pilots already appear to be mastering in the skies over Tehran. The Mi-28NE, NATO reporting name Havoc, is an all-weather day-night attack helicopter. It is a significant upgrade. Reports indicate Russia began delivering the Mi-28NE to Iran in January, a big improvement over Iran's aging pre-revolution H-1 Cobras provided by the United States in the 1970s. Then, there are the jets. As of early 2026, Russia began delivery of a 48-unit order of Su-35 Flanker E fighter jets, worth approximately $6.5 billion, equipped with Kibini-M electronic warfare pods and Irbis-E radars. Those radars matter. The Irbis-E is specifically designed to detect low observable stealth aircraft like the F-35. That is the backbone of American and Israeli air superiority, and Russia just handed Iran the tool to see it coming. The full picture gets darker. Russia also provided the Resonance-NE radar, a sophisticated over-the-horizon system capable of tracking stealth targets and ballistic missiles at long ranges. Reports from IRGC linked media went even further. On January 9, 2026, the Tasnim news agency asserted that reliable sources confirmed the arrival of Russian Iskander missile systems in Iran. The Iskander, designated 9K720 by Russia and SS-26 Stone by NATO, can carry conventional or nuclear warheads. No independent verification has emerged through satellite imagery or open-source intelligence, and the absence of clear denials ensures the rumor itself exerts strategic influence. That ambiguity is deliberate. Moscow does not confirm. Moscow does not deny. Moscow lets the uncertainty do the work. Then came the MANPADS deal. Russia and Iran reportedly finalized a contract for 500 Verba man-portable air defense systems and 2,500 missiles. The 9K333 Verba, NATO reporting name S, a 29 Gizmo, is Russia's most advanced MANPADS in mass production, capable of hitting aircraft up to 6 kilometers away at altitudes of nearly 15,000 feet, using a multispectral seeker. Military analysts note their limitations against high-altitude bombers. Iranian forces could use manpads to target drones, helicopters, or low-flying aircraft, complicating U.S. air assaults or search and rescue missions. But they would be of little help against jets and bombers at higher altitudes. That is the key detail. These weapons do not stop the B-2 Spirit at 40,000 feet. They stop the helicopter coming to rescue the downed pilot. They change the calculus of every sortie. Every mission planner at CENTCOM knows this, and all of it was in place before February 28, 2026. That is the date everything changed. The 2026 Iran conflict was initiated by the United States and Israel on February 28th. Operation Epic Fury began with opening salvos that took out the heart of the Iranian regime, Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, and triggered a torrent of hundreds of retaliatory missiles and thousands of drones from Iran across the Middle East. The assassination of the Supreme Leader was confirmed by Iranian state media on March 1st. The Fars news agency announced that Khamenei's daughter, son-in-law, grandchild, and daughter-in-law had also been killed in the strikes. The decapitation strike was unprecedented, but it did not stop Iran from fighting back. It accelerated the response. On March 5th, a military source told Fars news agency that Iran had fired over 500 ballistic and naval missiles and almost 2,000 drones since February 28th, with roughly 40% aimed at Israel and 60% at U.S. targets in the region. That firepower was not coming from outdated systems alone. Iran's integration of S-400 units alongside indigenous Bavar 373 systems formed a layered shield capable of tracking multiple targets across western Iran and the Persian Gulf. This is what Russian weapons technology delivered. Not invincibility, complexity. The S-400 does not make Iran untouchable. It makes every American strike package more expensive, more dangerous, and more uncertain. Military analysts warn that layered defense forces attacking aircraft to fly lower, exposing them to the very manpads Russia also supplied. The system works together. That is the doctrine Moscow taught Tehran. The human cost is already real. 13 U.S. service members have been killed since the start of the conflict, including 6 who lost their lives when their refueling aircraft crashed in Iraq on Thursday, publicly identified by the Pentagon. A further 6 were killed in an Iranian strike that hit a makeshift operations center in Kuwait. Those are American families destroyed in the first 16 days of a war that the Energy Secretary now says could last several more weeks. U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stated he believes Iran's new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei is wounded, saying the new leader is likely disfigured. The IRGC's response was direct. IRGC vows to pursue and kill Netanyahu if he is still alive. IRNA reported. This is not de-escalation language. This is a war footing. Now look at what this war is doing to your wallet. Oil prices closed just above $100 per barrel on Thursday after Iran's new Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei vowed to keep the Strait of Hormuz closed. Roughly 20% of global oil and gas typically passes through that narrow waterway. Shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz has virtually ground to a halt since the U.S. and Israel launched airstrikes on Iran on February 28th. That is not a temporary disruption. The International Energy Agency characterized this as the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. The IEA estimated the war will cut global oil supply by about 8 million barrels per day in March, accounting for the near closure of the strait, which carries as much as 20 million barrels per day in normal times. The IRGC is not bluffing about holding that choke point. The IRGC says it will not allow a liter of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, with a spokesperson declaring any vessel linked to the United States, Israel, or their allies a legitimate target. The IRGC warned to expect oil at $200 per barrel. The price at your pump reflects this. The price of U.S. jet fuel has soared almost 60% since the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, hitting $3.95 per gallon. Consumer prices are next. Iran's effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz has significantly disrupted the global supply chain, affecting goods from fertilizers to metals to gas and fuel. Due to high global energy prices, Bangladesh is closing universities early for the summer, and Pakistan and the Philippines both declared a 4-day work week. That is the ripple effect hitting developing nations first. America is next in line. The Pentagon says it is winning. The White House said Iran's ballistic missile capability has been reduced by about 90%, and its drone capability by 95% since the start of the war, adding that U.S. forces have sunk more than 65 Iranian naval vessels and struck over 6,000 targets. Those are staggering numbers. But if Iran is 90% degraded, how is the Strait of Hormuz still closed? How are missiles still hitting Tel Aviv? The Iranian military launched another wave of missile and drone strikes overnight on Sunday, including at least 10 hypersonic missiles along with an unspecified number of drones, the IRGC said. That is the problem with Russian-supplied layered defense. You can degrade it, and it still functions. The S-400 batteries near Isfahan, the Bavar 373 units scattered across western Iran, the Resonance NDE radar feeding targeting data at ranges that exceed what American electronic warfare was calibrated to suppress. This is what the Pentagon is actually fighting. Not just Iranian hardware, Russian doctrine embedded inside Iranian infrastructure. The U.S. military buildup for this operation was historic. Beginning in late January 2026, the United States carried out its largest military buildup in the Middle East since the 2003 invasion of Iraq, deploying air, naval, and missile defense assets. On February 13th, USS Gerald R. Ford was en route to the Middle East, creating an uncommon two-carrier deployment, constituting one of the most significant force postures in the region since 2003. On February 24th, 12 F-22 Raptor fighter jets were deployed to Ovda Air Base in southern Israel, the first U.S. deployment of offensive weaponry inside Israel. 2 carrier strike groups, the most advanced stealth fighters on Earth. And still, Iran holds the strait. Still, American service members are coming home in caskets. Still, oil is above $100. Russia did not send troops to defend Iran, although Iran signed a strategic partnership with Russia in January 2025. It does not include a mutual defense pact, and Moscow did not provide real assistance to Tehran during Israeli and U.S. strikes. That is the cold calculation. Russia does not need to fight. Russia needs Iran to fight well enough and long enough to bleed American resources, spike global energy prices, and fracture the Western alliance structure. The S-400, the Su-35S, the Mi-28S, the Verba manpads, the Resonance NE radar. These are not charity. In total, Russia has spent more than the equivalent of $4 billion on Iranian military equipment and weapons since end of 2021. And Iran spent nearly $3 billion on Russian missiles going the other direction. This is a mutual investment in American exhaustion. Iran's Foreign Minister Araghchi said today that Tehran has not requested a ceasefire or negotiations, stating that they never asked for a ceasefire and never asked for negotiation. Israel's military is planning at least 3 more weeks of its campaign and still has thousands of targets remaining. Energy Secretary Chris Wright said today he expects the war to end in the next few weeks, possibly sooner, with oil supplies rebounding afterward. Weeks, not days. Weeks more of $100 oil. Weeks more of American pilots flying into S-400 engagement envelopes designed by Russian engineers. Weeks more of IRGC drones and missiles striking U.S. positions in Kuwait, Bahrain, and Iraq. U.S. Ambassador to the UN Mike Waltz said today that President Trump is weighing strikes on oil infrastructure on Karg Island, Iran's key oil export hub. That terminal accounts for around 90% of the country's crude exports, with a loading capacity of roughly 7 million barrels per day. If that infrastructure burns, Iran has nothing left to lose. And a cornered regime with Russian weapons, Russian radar, and Russian doctrine is the most dangerous adversary on Earth. Here is what to watch in the next 48 hours. The Navy escort operations through the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. Navy is not ready to escort oil tankers through the strait, Energy Secretary Wright confirmed, saying all military assets are focused on destroying Iran's offensive capabilities. When that changes, when the first escorted tanker transits the strait, that is the signal that the operational phase is shifting from offense to stabilization. Until then, this war is expanding. Today, U.S. and Israeli missiles struck multiple sites across central Isfahan province. Iran responded with another wave of hypersonic missiles. Oil sits above $100. 13 Americans are dead, and the S-400 batteries that Russia placed on Iranian soil are still tracking every aircraft in the sky. This war is not ending, it is deepening, and every hour it continues, the cost to you and to every American in uniform grows. Tomorrow will tell us whether the next phase is escalation or exhaustion. Right now, the trajectory points only one direction.